Hello everyone, welcome to WebVisions 2003. This is our third year. The conference has been expanded to a full day with sessions from an extraordinary lineup of visionaries, including Jeffrey Veen, Dr. Umesh, Jeff Faulkner, and Mark Newhouse. What I hope you'll come away with today is a glimpse into the future of e-marketing, visual and information design, web standards, and user experience. Also, take advantage of the knowledge that surrounds you, and I hope that you can recharge your creative energies and get ready for the web's next boom, which is coming in now. Welcome.
Dr. Umesh is a professor of marketing at Washington State University. He has a focus on internet marketing, startup companies, and entrepreneurship. He's going to tell us why that's actually marketing these days in history. And he has published articles in the Wall Street Journal, the Journal of Marketing Research, and the Journal of Forecasting. And what he's going to talk about, I believe, is the future of e-marketing.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very pleased to be here, and I'm sure you are. And you're glad that you're not one of those 100 people who are asleep or are caught in traffic on I-5. What I'd like to do is talk about marketing, particularly in the web area. The idea of bringing in history, I think, is very interesting because there has been quite some history, as you're well aware, and you're also... Mike's not there?
Mike? Yeah. Okay, here we go. Dr. Umesh?
Okay.
You're going to go wireless.
All right. All right, can you hear me?
No, speak into the mic.
Hello?
Michael?
I can even speak without the mic.
It should be on.
And get this on.
Yeah, we'll get it on as well. The wireless is on.
Yeah, and get this on.
Yeah, we'll get it to come on.
All right, to begin all over again, good morning again. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very happy to be here, and I'm sure you are as well. And let's begin with marketing from both the history and the future as well. I think a lot of history has gone by the wayside. We've seen people who've been extremely successful on the web and who have not been as successful over time. On the other hand, I think what we don't see as much, or we don't realize as much, at least reading the newspapers and the media, is that there are people who have been extremely successful on the web and continue to be quite successful and will be even more successful in future. Okay? So I think that certainly a little bit of history is warranted, but at the same time, I believe we need to talk about what the future holds for us. And my message is going to be a little bit different. If I'm going to say whatever is in the newspaper, then you might as well stay at home or go to Starbucks, as many of you do, and just drink coffee, you know. But I'm going to say something quite different. And I believe that it is justified. What I'm going to say is that if you think there was a time when the internet seemed to be extremely profitable, the field was extremely bright, then the future is going to be even brighter. That's going to be my message. And there are reasons for it. And I believe that we are going to see some trends which have been occurring, which have perhaps not been as have not received the level of publicity that they should have got, and we are going to see that and then recognize what it means for future business. Okay, so let me see if they can get their slides started, and we can be on our way. Okay, it looks like technology is still in its infancy, and I'm going to tell you that, and that's true. I mean, when Bill Gates had to give this talk, he had to make this presentation, he had to connect up the USB. I don't know how many of you saw that on television a few years ago. He connected, and what happened? Didn't work. Why is that? No? All right. I should ask a non-Macintosh man. All right. What was that? Yeah, he's a Windows gentleman. He's not a Microsoft is of course Windows, but he's actually a Macintosh gentleman. He didn't quite say it, but he was thinking, and I could see that on his face. What we observe is that this technology is evolving. If you look at cars in the early part of the century, you actually had to know how to fix them, and you went on, took the tools and everything else, and you took this journey. And right now, Windows is the same. You need to know a little bit of the background. If cars were built the way Windows were built, and you might like this, if the car gives you trouble, what do? No, you close all the windows, get out of the car, lock it, unlock it, get in and start, and it works every time. Okay? So that's what you do. But anyway, let's get on. The technology is ready, and let's move on. I'm a professor of marketing, and I've taught at a number of different schools. Austin, UT Austin, and the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania, and so on. And some of the lessons that I've seen over the years really applies to the internet and internet marketing, and I think we need to talk about it today. And I'll leave some time in the end for questions and answers as well. All right. Point number one. Those who ignore the lessons of the past are doomed to repeat them. So let's make that point very clearly, because the future is bright, but let's learn history. Okay? For e-marketing to be successful, we need to make sure that the basic rules of marketing, and I don't mean e-marketing, the basic rules of marketing that have evolved over the 100 years, 150 years, are not broken. Okay? And during the dot-com craze, many rules of marketing were broken. People said, hey, marketing doesn't matter. Nothing matters. We are now on the internet. Even breakfast doesn't matter. And the message is, eat breakfast. It's important. Doesn't matter what the internet says. Eat breakfast. Other areas, finance. People say finance doesn't matter. You don't have to make money. Right? And Yahoo when Yahoo went to the early venture capitalists, and there are many of them on Sand Hill Road in the Silicon Valley area, they wouldn't fund Yahoo. Why should they? Because they said, no, we don't plan to make money. It's just the eyeballs. Well, are you going to charge people to search? No. Are you going to charge people to list? No. So what's your revenue model? Well, we are asking you for some money. And the venture capitalists said, no, that's not going to work. No, that one will never work. But one of them said, okay, if it's $1 million, just write a check. And so these VCs in the 90s, when it was $1 million, they weren't thinking that much. It's only when it went up to about $100 million, they were thinking a lot about these matters. And that was the success of Yahoo. But on the other hand, you can't do that too many times. When wedding registry became prominent on the internet, the first one was good. Della and James, there were students at Stanford University doing their MBA, didn't finish their MBA, and they did a wedding registry, and it seemed like a great idea. But it turns out that about 6 months later, a single venture capitalist in a 1-week period got 4 proposals. for wedding registries. Easy enough, right? What are the fundamental marketing approaches or principles? And in fact, there's only one approach that I would say covers most marketing processes. First and foremost, determine customer needs. Don't start with technology. Don't start with your company. Do not start with whatever preconceived ideas you have. What are the needs of the customer? And please define that broadly, because it could also be the needs of your customer's customer. It could be the needs of your customer's customer's customer. But those needs you need to know. And sometimes if you ask people, they won't tell you their needs because they don't know. They haven't thought about it. But at a high level, don't ask them how much memory they need. That's not the point at all. It's a business need. It's a personal need. It's a consumer need. Step 2, create products and services to satisfy these needs. Absolutely. Don't start with the product first. Look at the needs, design the product or the service. Distribute the product and service through the most effective channel. And I repeat this distribution even for services. But let's talk about products. How many of you think you can make potato chips at home? Or at least know how to make it. You don't really have to make potato chips. You know how to make it. Gentlemen, Dad, right? You do know how to make potato chips. It's easy, right? Quite easy. Okay. Well, why not we all make potato chips and put them on the shelves and sell it and compete with Frito-Lay? Frito-Lay is almost in a commodity business. Yet if you go to the shelves and count how much shelf spacing they have, and I'd like you to do that. I once gave a project to someone to do this. Just to get them to understand potato chips, because then I think you can understand the internet. 50 to 80% of the shelf spacing was Frito-Lay chips. Why? Because they know how to distribute their product. They can get it on the shelf. And there are many, many ways you can distribute your product. It's a web-based product. It's a service. You can tie it in with someone else. You can make it a part of another product. But there are many other approaches. But you need to understand about channels. Some channels cost too much. Making personal visits is a channel. Might cost too much. You shouldn't do it. So effective channel, very important. Set the price and promotion that's optimal for each customer segment. One price does not fit all. Might work at Walmart, but even at Walmart, we've got prices going down at different stores, right? You've seen that little yellow-faced guy at Walmart constantly putting prices down. Well, they don't always do it the same way at all stores. Prices change. So look at the customer, price accordingly. And that's not cheating, by the way. You know, you look at their face and price. But some people want a certain degree of service, and you charge them accordingly. Sometimes you can charge too low, and then keep complaining for 6 months that they want too much service. And promotion. A particular segment gets most of its promotion through the web, and that's fine. But there are others who look at billboards. There are others who might read magazines. A segment has certain characteristics, certain interests, and they go through with certain media. And that's a very important rule, whether you're selling chips, or you're selling web services, or you're selling software. And finally, build a long-term positive relationship with the customer. Too many firms say, hey, we got the customer, let's go find the next customer. Why? You already have a customer. Why don't you expand sales to that customer? Solve more of their problems. Always believe that a current customer can get you more profits than that other customer out there. Why? Because you already have the customer. The acquisition cost is zero. You only have the cost of holding on to that customer. So keep that in mind. So let's look at e-marketing. How do we define it? Well, a very narrow definition would be internet-related companies attempting to do business on the internet. But that's too narrow a business. At one time, people said that's fine, because everybody is going to do things on the internet. No longer. Now, what we believe is people are going to do many things, one of them is going to involve the internet, one of them is going to involve the web, but everything isn't going to be the web. Web may be only 2% or 8% or whatever fraction. The broader definition is all companies attempting to reach customers in multiple channels using the internet as a tool or one medium. That's a much broader definition, and I would like you to take that definition. It's one tool, one of many. You're trying to reach as many customers as possible, using things on the internet and off the internet. And when you treat it as a tool rather than as a neat technology, then you begin to see you get more mileage out of it. Too many people thought, hey, it's neat. People will just go to the website and they will buy the product. Why? Because it's so exciting to buy on the internet, and they'll do it. That's not true. The first time when you bought something on the internet, you were excited. How many of you would say that? Right? Excited. How many of you bought at least 20 items on the net? At least. Okay? Is it you still get a rush? You know? You don't. It's nothing. You know? What you're thinking is, hey, I don't want to drive to Powell's because the traffic is backed up on I-5. And therefore, I'll save so much time by buying the book at Amazon. That's what you're thinking. And sometimes, for some people, the internet can never provide that experience of shopping at Powell's. And I asked some people why. I was, speaking to an audience, and I said, why? Because they said you can't get coffee sitting in front of your computer. It's not the same. The ambience, the table. Sit at the table. Look at other people who want to sit at the table. The smell of the books. Right? That's what you get. And you can't beat that. Well, why should you beat that? There's plenty for everybody. Internet does not have to cover 100% of your sales. Okay? So keep that, view the internet along those terms. Now, why e-marketing? Individualized attention. We all want individualized attention. We all like it when people say our names and want to know what our problems are. Right? That's why people go to therapists and they talk to them rather than just watching television and learning from TV. So, individualized attention is hard to do in today's mass markets. People try. But today, we have Kmart. Now, there's no individualized attention because there are no individuals there, right? There's almost nobody there. You can't find people at Kmart to serve you. Have you noticed that? People feel claustrophobia. Where can I find someone to talk to? Someone to ask questions? But that's the other extreme. Walmart is trying to say, well, we are a mass merchandiser, but you know what? We've got those greeters in front. They are going to provide you the individualized attention. And they do to some extent. But the question is, mass production and mass marketing is like the Model T. You can have it in any color you want as long as it's black. And that was great. Because the price of a car, if you look at, I have a graph that says what the price of cars were, early part of the century, it was about $5,000, $6,000. When $5,000, $6,000 meant a lot. By about 1915, 1920, the price of a Model T was how much? $300. $300. And a Ford worker could buy it. Why? Because a Ford worker was paid $5 an hour. A day, I'm sorry. $5 a day. So it was 60 days of working. They had a Model T. But the problem is that people got tired of the same car. General Motors stepped in, said, we'll put a top on it. That itself is great technology, a hard top. That was one. They also said different colors, different shapes, priced a little more. And that was the innovation that General Motors did in the 20s and 30s and overtook Ford. Otherwise, Ford was a very powerful player. Just to give you an example, before the Second World War, Ford had something like 60% of the world market, 80% of the Japanese market, 90% of some countries' markets. That was how strong Ford was. This was well before GM became powerful. Then GM became powerful and made all these innovations. Their problem has been to make innovations after that. They've not been as innovative in recent years as they were in those days. So what you do is you have to somehow customize your product while at the same time maintaining the benefits of having a common platform. Okay, that would be a key message here. Okay, and e-marketing can do that, and I'll show you a graph of how it can do that. So find out the needs, deliver a customer solution, a custom solution, and do it at low cost. Okay, and for designers, the implication is design a product or service that can be customized at low cost. Think about it from the beginning, from day one. Customize at low cost. Okay. If you customize, operating costs are high. If you do mass merchandise, your costs are low. But perhaps e-marketing can lower your total cost just a little bit at the customized end. And that's why it's interesting. It's not that it can bring it down to mass merchandise level, but it can maybe reduce it just a little bit as indicated in the red arrow. Okay? Customers have become multitaskers. What do customers do? Well, they log on to their email, right? And you all do that, while listening to the radio and checking web addresses in a magazine. And someone said they could even do a fourth one while eating potato chips. Okay? So they're doing all of that. The average young adult, it has been estimated, has a 29.8-hour day. Is that right? Have you added up how much time you have in a day? About 30 hours a day, right? That's how much you spend when you add up all the activities. It's multitasking. So what do you do when people are multitasking? You give multiple images, multiple messages from multiple media. So that's the whole idea of integrated communication. A single TV ad isn't going to do it. A single pop-up ad isn't going to do it. Because people are doing so many different tasks. You have to reach the largest group of individuals with repeated messages, and the only way you'll do it is with integrated communication from the use of multiple media. Okay? Let's take a look at the different stages in a customer's purchase process and see why that is related to integrated communication and marketing. Customers go through stages. Awareness is the first stage. And by that I mean not necessarily your product, but awareness of the problem. And certain types of messages will go towards awareness. Increasing awareness. Do you have a memory problem? An ad like that is not really selling your company, but it's mostly giving them awareness. Yes, we have a memory problem. Then they go to the next stage, which is interest. Okay, we've got so many problems now. The interest is being raised. Then you've got evaluation of alternatives. And there can be promotion and advertising occurring at that stage. Then you've got trial. People want to try things out. Does it work? Let's install it on a couple of machines. And then adoption. When they adopt, the process is more or less complete. However, there are different stages of adoption. You adopt as a first user. You adopt as a continuous user over a number of years. So the message depends on which stage someone is in the process. At the awareness stage, you give only certain messages to talk about the problem. But at the try stage, you tell them why your product is better. And then when they adopt it, you tell them how useful it is. Unfortunately, if everybody was in the same stage, then we could go from one media to the next systematically and serially. But people are not. Some people, let me go back to this slide. Some people are in the awareness stage. Some are in the trial stage, right? Some of your customers are in the evaluation of alternative stage. Now what do you do? Well, now you need to have different messages for different customers. potential customers using different media because of this particular problem. Now, I don't say you can handle all the customers or potential customers at all stages, but certainly you should be aware that there are multiple stages in decision making. It is never a one-step process. If it were one step, you could go somewhere, present, and they sign or they say, please leave. It would be so easy. But it's not. It's always multiple stages, and you should be involved in all those stages. The more you are, at low cost, by the way, otherwise cost goes up. You've got to be careful. And so the message itself in each media is not going to be the same. Because awareness message is going to be different from the trial message. So therefore, don't believe in having the same message. Examples: ad in a magazine, survey on the web, right? On the web, you sign up, you go to Amazon.com, and all of a sudden you have a questionnaire coming up. And that's fine, that's part of marketing. Opt-in email for frequent shoppers. It's part of marketing, part of communication. Free samples at the store. See, that's where you tie in the web with outside the web. Free samples are good, don't give it to everybody. But sometimes free samples do work because people tend to use these free samples or give it to other people. Conversation with trade representatives at trade shows. That works for certain purposes. Direct mail. Does direct mail work? With personalized email addresses. Does it work? How many of you think? Does direct mail work? Direct mail works. If you ask some people, Erica Dickey, who's one of my former students from Babcock and Jenkins, will tell you direct mail does work because they do it all the time. This particular approach, of using personalized web addresses. What are the 5 basic areas of promotional mix? Advertising, personal selling, public relations, sales promotion, direct marketing. Which one's growing fastest? What's that? Direct is growing the fastest. And the reason is all the others are important as well. But some of them, there's some degree of saturation. Public relations, wonderful. Public relations is wonderful. Because if you can get the newspaper to say what a great product you are, what a great company you are, that helps greatly and you should never ignore that. But there's only a certain number of newspapers we can read, certain number of magazines we can read. There's only that much TV we can watch. After which we have to go check our email, right? And what are the plans? So there's a saturation there. And so therefore, and personal selling, people coming door to door is completely out, right? Nobody wants that anymore. But even otherwise, it's a very high cost approach. Person's time, travel, and so on. But direct marketing can work. I don't want to say it will work. It's got to be done right. Okay? Customization becomes easy with direct marketing. Going back to customization. Why is direct marketing important? Because you reach a customer with a specific product for a specific need. If you can do it. Databases are getting better and better. We know what you need. There are people who will sell you information for a fee on every individual. And it's not just basic spam information. It is information that is very, very specific. How many vacations have you taken? And that kind of database information can be used to get to the customer and provide products for the customer that the customer needs. Okay? Also, the idea of direct marketing is middlemen are not there. And we know that between manufacturing and final sales for a small company, sometimes prices go up by a factor of 4. So what is $25 becomes $100 to the end user. If you can avoid that, then there's a huge saving there. Okay? Lead generation works. Some companies use it just for lead generation. Works as a marketing tool. It will continue to grow rapidly in future, which is the implication. As advances in database availability and management help to tailor efforts. to individual customers at low cost. Very important. You can do anything at high cost. You've got to be able to do it at low cost. You can mine databases, which means people who do that are in demand. It's a good field to get into. To go into databases to understand patterns, to be able to pull out particular individuals, particular companies, with particular profiles. Now spam. If you talk about direct marketing, you've got to talk about spam, right? And you got to repeat it 3 times because you get it so many times. That's why I said spam, 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 spam. I'll tell you about spam. It's not direct marketing for the following reasons. It's unsolicited advertising. It is not tailored to your needs. Do you agree? Not tailored to customer needs. It's just sent out. Not based on a planned e-marketing strategy. There's no strategy. It's just sent out to anyone who will get it. It does not differentiate between varying customer needs. There's no question of different stages of purchase, and is not friendly to the customer. They don't really care. And spam is the most used car salesman approach to achieving sales. Unfortunately, it does work. A few people actually do click and buy Viagra at low price, or send their bank accounts to Nigeria. They do. You know, they just send the account in the local area, by the way, not in the big cities. I'm telling you, in Portland, Vancouver area, there are people sending their bank account numbers to Ivory Coast or someplace like that, and through spam, by the way. It costs very little. For hundreds of dollars, you can literally get millions of emails sent out, and a few people will click on anything, and that's why it works. And what's the problem with it? So they sell a little bit, so they make a few $1,000 and they sell a few $100. What is the problem? Well, there are several problems. First and foremost, out of 1 million people who get spam, 999,300 are going to have a very negative opinion of your product and your company. Not just the spammer, by the way. Not the one who just sent out the email, but of the product in the company. It cannot be used to build an image. There is no brand image through spamming. And this lack of branding, so you notice IBM does not send out spam. Because eventually IBM will become a cheap brand. And once it's a cheap brand, most of us won't buy it. Okay? Poor long-term sales and problematic relations with the outside world. Because when an IBM salesperson goes somewhere, he's going to say, hey, your emails keep coming all the time, and I don't like it. What do you want me to do about it? Well, it's hard to take that particular person out, because these lists are entirely generated fairly randomly. So legitimate e-marketing, unfortunately, are sometimes mistaken for spam by the wary customer. And people erase their emails looking at the subject line, right? Has it happened? Of course. And spam filters sometimes curtail genuine email. For instance, Harvard University, for the undergraduate program, sent out 6,000 emails for advanced and early admission. And spam filters in many places stopped. So that's a very unfortunate product. And then, of course, Harvard said they would send out paper mail as well. And that worked, of course. But the unfortunate side issue is that we think everything is spam. And genuine marketing is not necessarily spam. In fact, spam is broader. The telemarketers in this area have made it such a problem that to make a call after 6 p.m. to someone who does not recognize our voice, what do we have to say? You don't say hello, you say, I am not a telemarketer. Or you get disconnected, right? Has it happened? This happened to me. We don't want it. We don't want what? I'm trying to talk to somebody there. It's a genuine phone call. But unfortunately, that's what we have to say. However, spam has lesser impact on certain e-marketing initiatives. Regular postal mail. Regular postal mail used to introduce firms' websites. Regular postal mail used to introduce firms' websites, brochures to be downloaded, surveying of customers, Those kinds of things. And even sponsored advertising on search engines. Not as affected by spam. Okay? Let's look at some factors that are driving e-marketing and internet business. Okay? One, growth rates. Very, very important. Let's look at two scenarios here. Dave Carson has a reasonable internet business in Portland, annual billings $1 million per year and growing at 100% per year. Okay, so that's Dave Carson in Portland. Then you had Bruce Norris in Los Angeles, 10 million in billings a year, growing at 10% per year. So two scenarios. If trends continue, who would have the larger business at the end of 10 years, and what would be the size of each business? Okay, look at the numbers. You need to think numbers here. It's very important. When you look at the internet, numbers are important. Tell me who would have the bigger business and tell me the size of these businesses. I want some guesses. Yes. Okay. How about some other numbers? Okay. But let us say it does. I mean, maybe average. No, but it could average 100%. It could be 200% one year, 50% another year, you know. Okay. Any others? How about the first person? The second person who has $10 million. How much would that grow to? Take a guess. 10% a year. Maybe some of your businesses grow at 10% a year. How much would it grow to in 10 years? From 10 million. Who said 25 million? Okay. The estimates depends on whether you start at the beginning of the period or not. But 1024 would be the growth of the $1 million business, assuming you start from year 0 rather than year 1. And then the $10 million business would be 26 million. And you'll notice how the graphs diverge. The graphs diverge very dramatically. If you look at the rate of growth in total percentage terms, the 7% is growing in a very small way. 28% is growing, somewhere in the middle, but 100% really climbs very radically. Now, people say you cannot do 100% a year. But I have to tell you, in terms of e-commerce, you could conceivably do 100% a year. And I'll come to some numbers there as to how you can do 100% a year in the long run. If you look at the total size of the market and the retail and so on, they can do that. But we'll talk about that after I go through these slides. Successful e-marketing requires following markets with rapid growth rates. Go after growth rates, even if the current opportunity is relatively small. But make sure that profits are not excessively squeezed. As long as you can make reasonable profits, you don't necessarily have to go to the highest profit segment. What you have to go for is the highest growth segment. Okay? However, don't go for heavy losses, which is one of the mistakes that some of the dot-coms made. And the other issue is, don't try to create the wave of growth. If you're a small company, if you're a middle-sized company, you can only ride the wave. You cannot create the wave. Even very large companies have a hard time creating the wave. Now, Microsoft is trying to do this .NET strategy. And maybe a company of that size can do it, and even they are trying to push very hard. It's not easy. But if people will themselves do something, buy TV sets, buy DVDs, buy high definition, or whatever else they're doing, then to ride that wave is much easier. Okay? To fundamentally change the market and educate the market is hard. Number 2 is timing. You can be too early or too late. But I'm not saying anything new by that. But what I'm telling you is this. Don't be ever late. Because then it's over. Doesn't matter what product you sell. The people who are too late generally don't win. But if you're too early, what do you do? Well, if you're too early, then you can do a few things. Go into hibernation mode. Don't entirely end that business. Keep that business so that that kind of business is still something that can be rejuvenated. And when the market picks up or is about to pick up, jump in again. Okay? And the issue is, until then, what do? Go into other markets. And would the first entrant always win? Not really, not necessarily. All kinds of people have entered markets. Just one moment. Okay. So the first entrants don't always win, but certainly the last entrants never win. Number 3 is price. Certain channels of distribution cannot tolerate high prices, and that's fine. But remember that some channels can tolerate high prices. Should a small business be successful by always underpricing? The answer is no. Studies of many, many businesses have shown that the successful small business does not underprice. In fact, many times, their prices are above average. They provide service. They provide customization that allows them to charge higher prices. Okay? And prices are hard to determine, especially in the software field. The same software could be sold for $500, $5,000, $50,000. And I mean, the same piece. Well, it depends on who your markets are. It's a single customer, yeah, it could be $50,000, you know. And then the range being so high, what do you really do? Well, how do you price? Flexible pricing is the way to go. Find the pain felt by the customer. The pain is a lot, price high. Not much pain, price low. No pain, get out of that market. Customer's degree of usage of your product. The more they use it all the time, you can price more. Well, if it's a large part of their operating costs, you can price more. And how important is the product? Well, how do we find out how it's important? Sometimes you don't know. But take an allied product that they use. And that allied product becomes a meter for their demand. Okay? Example, printer companies. They ideally like to sell the inkjet printer for $1,000 to some people and $100 to some others. Classic price discrimination. But they can't do that because they don't know who is the big user. So that's why they charge $100 for the printer but overcharge on the cartridges. Because the bigger user will end up paying more for the package. IBM did that all the time. All the profits from the 60s and the 70s can be related to tie-ins. They underpriced the mainframe, overpriced the peripherals. Okay? Number 4, almost all markets are cyclical. It goes up, it goes down, yeah. So what about it? There's nothing we can say. Don't think the world has ended. Take a look at this graph. You know, and people say, well, it's come down more. Well, maybe it's come down more. You know, I'm reluctant to say that the internet has gone down that much, but maybe it has gone down a little more. But the next bump is going to be higher than the last peak. Okay? So keep that in mind. Eventually, they do end. And in the technology field, consistently, downturns have been followed by upturns where the peaks have been higher than the downturns or the previous upturns. Okay? And market to investors in the financial community. You got to convince the bankers. You got to tell the bankers, hey, you know, somehow this is a good product. And they want quick return to profitability. They believe in that. They don't believe in your product. They believe in cash flow. And you need to use e-marketing strategies to approach the right people. Some people are not suitable investors. Then don't approach them. But e-marketing, reaching out and marketing to certain people who have the right risk tolerance would be the way to go. What are the quarterly cash flows they'll tolerate? Take a look at these 3 graphs. In an inflated market, you can have negative cash flow for 18 quarters. Right? Into the distant future, loss. But in a downturn, they might give you a year. A little over a year, maybe. Maybe not even that much. They want cash flow to come in faster. And that's something you need to recognize. How quickly you're going to go to profitability. But you could shift and make it a smaller venture and get quicker profits. Areas that favor e-marketing, e-commerce, the future has just begun. Information security. very big, will get bigger as we are concerned about privacy with more databases. Ubiquitous computing. We want to do computing everywhere, on the beach, at home. And your boss wants that too. Wants you to be working all the time, right? Intelligent devices, we have more of that. All of that needs the internet. Learning and education, hot area. University of Phoenix Online. Stock went up 500% because you can do education online without going somewhere. Okay, conclusions. Successfully marketing on the web requires an integrated marketing and communications effort. Combine offline with online. Very important. Build products and services that can be customized at low cost. Maybe using a platform. Distribute customized solution targeting specific customers. So the customized product goes to a particular customer. Avoid spam. It destroys brand equity. Plan for a sharp upturn in web business of all kinds. The market is yet to see even a small fraction of its true potential. And that is my message. And the point I want to make is that for those who have the question of how fast e-commerce grew last year, it grew about 45%. 45%. And this is supposed to be a down market. And there are different yardsticks. But still, there are several measures that show it grew a lot. Okay, question.